Have you ever wondered what it feels like to walk into the unknown, hoping for magic? This is the story of Aarav, a confident, charming, and slightly nervous young man on the verge of his first blind date. The plan? Simple. He was meeting a stranger, someone he had only heard about from his best friend. A girl named Rhea. She was described as kind, graceful, and full of life. Aarav had no expectations, but a quiet hope lingered in his heart. He arrived at the café 15 minutes early. The staff gave him a smile as if they already knew. Sitting by the window, Aarav checked his watch. Time seemed slower than usual. He kept rehearsing what he'd say. Should I compliment her dress? Or just start with a casual, "Hi, how was your day?" And then she entered. Rhea, wearing a light blue dress and a smile that could melt any hesitation. She looked around, and their eyes met. That split second, everything else faded. She walked up to him and said, "Aarav?" He stood up, smiled, and replied, "Yes, and you must be Rhea." At first, there were the usual awkward silences. But then, something shifted. Aarav cracked a silly joke about first dates being like job interviews, and Rhea laughed, genuinely. And just like that, the ice was broken. They talked about books, favorite travel memories, embarrassing moments in school, and surprisingly, their mutual love for pani puri. Hours passed like minutes. They didn't check their phones. They didn't care who was around. Around. For a moment, the cafe was their own little world. Aarav leaned in slightly and asked, "So, is this the part where we agree to see each other again?" Rhea smiled, sipped her coffee, and said, "Only if you promise to beat me in a pani puri eating contest next time." He laughed and said, "Challenge accepted." As they stepped out, the sun had already dipped behind the buildings, and the air felt cooler. Aarav walked her to the cab, and just before she got in, she paused. "Thank you," she said, "for being real." He nodded, a little overwhelmed, and replied, "Thank you for saying yes to this blind date." And with that, the cab left. But something had started. Not just a first date, but the first page of something beautiful. In a world full of swipes, filters, and rehearsed conversations, sometimes it just takes one real moment, one genuine connection, and a bit of courage to say yes. Who knows? Maybe your blind date is waiting too, just around the next corner, or across a cafe window.